let's get started. I would like to introduce Kaizen Zone Fernando Rueda.
Hello, good morning, William, and everybody else. Welcome to today's Tech to Tech session. We will be discussing corrosion protection in your vacuum degreasing, how, why, and different types of products. So corrosion is a degradation of, excuse me, of metal as a result of electrochemical activity. The phenomena are defined as the act of dissolving, eroding, or eating away gradually. In metal finishing and electronics, this refers to the erosion and wearing away of metal and or the accumulation of excess oxides or sulfide. So what are the leading causes for corrosion? We have humidity, one of the big culprits, elevated temperatures, catalysts like chlorides or sulfates that can be contained in some of the contaminants, and time. So how do we prevent corrosion? Obviously, we like to try to minimize the leading causes, which are the ones that we just mentioned. Humidity, temperature, different catalysts and the contaminants, and time. So what can we do? What are some of the best practices that we can implement to try to prevent corrosion? First one, and very important, is try to remove all the soils and contaminants from the parts that we're cleaning. Then we're going to apply a corrosion protection product. That can be done in the wash, in the rinse, or both. We need to allow for proper contact time in the process so the corrosion protection product is applied evenly across the surface of the part in all the orifices and basically the complete geometry. We need to make sure that the corrosion protection product is the right one for the specific metal or metals that we are trying to clean and protect. And that could be steel, brass, aluminum, copper, and others. And lastly, one of the best practices that we can implement is package things properly. We need to make sure that the parts are cool and dry so they don't start generating moisture inside the package. And we can always use desiccant packing materials to try to prevent some of that moisture. So we're going to mention some of the corrosion inhibitors that are available in the market. We have aqueous, which tend to leave a dry film on the parts. We have oil and water emulsions, which tend to be sprayable or can be applied in immersion too. They typically leave a wet, oily film. Oil-based corrosion protectors, they are typically applied in immersion for the most part, and they also leave a wet film, kind of oily. And lastly, we have the solvent-based corrosion protectors or inhibitors. These are the ones that we are going to concentrate on because these are the ones that are used in vacuum degreasers. So let's talk a little bit about the vacuum degreasers. Okay, vacuum degreasers are completely closed loop systems that use vacuum in the cleaning process, and they're typically used for machine parts, screw machine parts, etc. Okay, they're used, and the industry is moving in that direction because when they're trying to replace legacy halogenated solvents that are considered either ozone depleters or environmentally detrimental, or for safety purposes, like PERC, TCE, MPB, etc. So another reason is that people are trying to replace water-based systems for different reasons: consumption, discharge, the wastewater. Dealing with wastewater can be complicated in certain areas and certain cities or regions. operation cost, energy, a variety of reasons why replacing the water-based cleaning processes. And also, these regulations and safety and environmental regulations are forcing people to go towards safe halogenated solvents. So we know that like dissolves like. We have two types of products that are typically used in vacuum degreasing system. Polars, anything water-based that you apply to your parts and needs to be removed, you're going to need a modified alcohol. If you are dealing just with oils and greases, you can use a product that is good for non-polar residues, like a hydrocarbon. Okay. The benefits of these, these systems are gonna be no water use. If you don't use water, you're not gonna have to deal with the wastewater. The waste that you're gonna generate is minimal, and just the contaminants that the parts have, nothing to do with the solvent or the material that is being used to clean. It's gonna be able to allow you to have very low corrosion potential. So how do we apply, or how do the CPs apply in these systems? So you're going to have a CP tank that contains the solvent, whether it's hydrocarbon or modified alcohol, and it's going to have a certain concentration, depending on your process, of this corrosion protection product. And typically, you're going to apply the corrosion protection product after cleaning and rinsing the parts. So the chamber will be filled with that, and it will be applied evenly across the geometry of the part. After that, you're going to go into vacuum drying, and anything left of the solvent is going to be evaporated, and you are going to be left only with that protection on your part. Just a film, typically dry. So one important factor to consider in this process is that that CP tank cannot be in the distillation loop of these vacuum degreasers, because you will lose the corrosion protection product in the process. So very important. This is a typical schematic. Okay, you're going to have a wash tank, a couple of wash tanks that are used for wash and rinse. Some machines have 3 cascading tanks, but most machines have 2 tanks, and they tend to be isolated in many cases. Okay, you're also going to have the CP tank, which is optional. You will have to request when you order the machine, you're going to supply or fill the chamber with that CP at a concentration of 2 to 10%, typically, depending on your process, on how much protection you need. And you can always optimize this process. So the corrosion prevention products are typically used for steel and cast iron, but can also be applied to different metals, aluminum, copper, and others. So it's typically 100% soluble in the solvent that you have in the system. So that's what you're going to have in the CP tank. And you're going to get, as I mentioned before, a uniform protection layer on the complete part geometry. Now that's given the proper time in the tank. Okay, CP film is going to be dry to the touch for the most part, and the thickness of the film is going to depend on what the concentration of that CP product is. How do we measure that concentration? So we like to use moisture analyzer. It's basically a precision scale and a micro oven where you're gonna bake the volatile items in there, and just gonna be left with the solids and that are contained in that mixture that you are testing. So the measurement will be automatic, and it will be provided in a percentage of weight. And what do we do with that reading? So we're gonna apply that reading to this chart. And I'm gonna just use some random numbers so you can see how easy it is to get the concentration of the CP. So let's say that we have a 1.24% MBR reading out of our test with the moisture analyzer. So we're gonna draw a line across until it meets our curve in here. And then we're gonna draw another line to the x-axis, and we'll see what the concentration is. In this case, 1.24 MBR is gonna give us a 3.5% concentration of the CP. So bottom line, when we need long-term protection, months, even years sometimes, depending on the application, these CP products tend to be very good, very efficient. These products are gonna, based on oils, fats, waxes, in conjunction with the solvent that you're gonna be using in your process. They can be concentrated waxes, also pre-diluted, which tend to be more convenient because you don't have to melt the wax to mix it with the solvent. And you can use this type of CP products for both hydrocarbons and modified alcohols, but you need to make sure that you select the proper one so it's 100% soluble in the solvent. Okay? And a key part of the process, as I mentioned before, is keep the CP tank isolated from the distillation loop so you don't lose your CP product. And with this, back to you, William. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Fernando. If you would like to discuss this topic further, please contact your local Kaizen representative or send an email to tech@kaizen.com. And we will have one of our cleaning experts schedule a follow-up with you as soon as possible. Again, we thank you all for joining us today, and we hope to see you again soon. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great day.